Hello there. So today's probably a really bad day for filming anything. It's so cold. My camera's probably not going to last long, so we're going to try and not ramble too much today. So today I want to talk to you about gift economies. So I've talked sort of briefly about how back in the days before colonialism, it wasn't a capitalistic system over here. It wasn't even like a pre-capitalistic system. It was something different altogether. That something is typically classified as a gift economy. I think a lot of people might not really understand what that is. The first thing I want to get out of the way is that we didn't have money back in the day. There wasn't anything that was used as a universal abstraction. Now you quite often find people talking about how wampum beads were money. That's not right. Wampum beads were money for the early American colonies. But prior to that, wampum was not currency. Part of how I know this, aside from that the early sources don't talk about it that way, one piece of evidence I recently became aware of is linguistic. So modern day Mohawk language, our word for money is owista, and that word comes from another word meaning it is cold to the touch, which is the word for like silver. So our word for money in Mohawk specifically refers to silver. It doesn't refer to shell beads. Shell beads are a different word. We don't call modern day money gayune, whatever. I forget the word for wampum, whatever. So the system back in the day was a gift economy. Now what is a gift economy? Well, in short, we can think of it rather than having coins as this medium of universal abstraction. The closest thing we have is like goodwill. Goodwill is the currency of the day rather than silver and gold. What that means is that when you make a trade, you're not necessarily doing it to obtain the most man hours in terms of the production of these. What you're doing is you're sort of building relationships and connections and goodwill with the other participant. So a modern day example, your buddy asks you to help him move, and in return for this, he gives you a beer and a pizza. This isn't an exchange of goods and services. You're not helping him move so that you can get a pizza, and he's not necessarily giving you a pizza as payment for you helping him move. It's an exchange of goodwill. You're helping him because he's your friend, and he's giving you the pizza to show that he appreciates the help. And because this exchange has occurred, maybe sometime down the line, he'll help you move, and so on, so on, so on. An example from my life, I got an uncle who fishes regularly. He often catches more fish than he can eat. He doesn't have a freezer. So if he catches more than he needs, quite often he'll bring me some fish. I don't fish very often, very regularly, but I really like fish, and he knows that I appreciate this. And so I got a little sugar bush. I tap some maple trees every year, and I quite often make more maple syrup than I need. So I know that he doesn't have a sugar bush, he doesn't tap maple trees, so every year I'll give him a jar or two. I'm also a knife maker, so he gave me some deer skins because he hunts. Well, I'll give him a hunting knife, and so on, so on, so on. We're doing things we're exchanging these goods not as part of some transaction. I'm not giving him a hunting knife in order to get deer skins, and he's not giving me fish in order to get maple syrup. We're doing it just because we like each other, and because we like each other, we continue to give, and in giving, we make each other like each other a little bit more, and so on, so on, so on. So we can sort of think of this gift economy as, rather than the function of this exchange of goods being the exchange of goods, the attempt to acquire more universal abstraction, more man hours embodied. Rather than that, it's attempting to add people to your social circle, to your social support network, and so on, so on, so on, so on, so on. So within this sort of sphere, when you're going into an exchange, you're not necessarily thinking about value in the same way. When someone commissions me to make something, I'll think, okay, how many hours is it going to take me? What sort of materials are going to go into it? Okay, well, the hunting knife that you desire, I'm going to have to charge you $150 for that. just based on the amount of effort it's going to put into it for me. In a gift economy, you're not really going to think about it in that way. Your nephew asks you to make him a hunting bow, and okay, he doesn't have anything of value to give you. Here, I got this shiny rock that I found in the creek. Will this do? That shiny rock is worthless. I can go and find another one just like it pretty easily. You might agree to this just because now you've got this connection. You're building this relationship with your nephew, whatever. And somewhere down the line, he's going to feel this sort of obligation to repay you. It might not even be a real obligation, this sort of stuff. I really need to get a better camera. I can afford it. I've got the money set aside for it. I just got to go and buy it. I hate making a trip out to the city to go and shop. Oh, heck, the snow's getting deep. This has kind of been the best winter we've had in a long time, you know. There's only been like 1 week where we haven't had snow up the ground. Loads of fun. So where the heck was I? What the heck was I talking about? So in a gift economy, rather than sort of trying to accumulate profit in terms of like extra embodied labor, a big function of the exchange is the building of goodwill, the adding people to your social circle, your social security network. If he likes you a little bit more, that can only be a good thing. There's also this sort of abstract sense of owing people a favor, sort of. My friend, she got this old desk, and it was kind of in rough shape, but it was from her grandmother, so it had some sentimental value. She knows that I refinish furniture every now and again, so she says, hey, can you fix this up, glue up all the joints, and maybe give it a little bit of a polish, but not too much. I don't want it to look new, I just want it to look nicer, and so on, so on, so on. So I go and do that, just because she's my friend. I'm not expecting anything in return, and she's not promising anything in return. And then 6 months down the line, I got this museum display thing that I'm working on. I need another trade shirt for one of my displays. And I know that she's pretty good at sewing, much better than I am. She's sewn a shirt for me previously, so I say, hey, do you want to sew this for me? You interested in taking on a sewing project? I'll owe you a favor. And she says, sure. And she's not taking it on because I'm saying I owe her a favor. And she's taking it on because she enjoys sewing and she wants to help me out because she likes me. We're friends. And then a little ways down the road, I help her move, right? And so on, so on, so on. These favors might never be called in. They might not be called in at sort of equal value. People don't really care. It's not about that. It's not about accumulating. It's not about me getting more out of this exchange than my friend. It's not about me getting more man-hours of fish than my uncle gets in maple syrup. It's about building connections between people and sort of... So that's sort of what a gift economy is like. On a gift economy, there's often this heavy emphasis on like reputation and honor, generosity, and all of these sort of individual personal virtues that isn't there in a sort of capitalist economy. This is because the gift economy doesn't function if you got a bunch of swindlers going around. So in order for them to function, gift economies, they kind of need to take place in a society where everybody knows each other, or at least everybody knows somebody who knows everybody else, so on, so on, so on. You're only a couple of handshakes away rather than 6 or 7 or whatever the number is. You might know people's reputation even if you've never met them or interacted with them or even seen them. This is kind of necessary for the system to function. It's also necessary that people behave sort of, honorably and honestly and, not greedy. Somebody tries to game this system, it falls apart pretty quickly. Or people shut out the person who's trying to game it. One of those two things has to happen. The circle of exchange has to be small enough that you know who's meant to be shut out. So on, so on, so on. So going back to stuff like prices and whatever, a bushel of corn might not be worth a specific value in terms of like arrowheads or whatever, or squirrel pelts. The goal of it isn't to accumulate more than the other guy. It's not to get a better deal. It's to establish this positive relationship. So I'm rambling again, so I'm going to just cut this close and That's all for today. I hope you found this interesting.